Welcome back to the sweatshop, boys and girls. Today I am showing you exactly why you do not use thinner to try and restore your headlight. As you can see, there are cracks now here in the actual lens. They're superficial, but there's also that really strong haze. This is after the customer tried to solve the issue. You can see here there is some dimpling and orange peel. So I'm going to tell you how to try and attempt to fix this if you have done this to your own car. Your first step is going to be to take a 180 grit paper or lighter and sand away all the crap that you can feel on the lens. What I mean by crap is the cracking, orange peel, and that grainy stuff that you will have on a sanded or damaged headlight. What you want to do is get it as smooth as possible and then gradually go up with your paper in terms of grit until you get something that is smooth. You will end off with a 3000 grit or 2500 grit, and then you'll be ready to polish. So we'll show you the pictures of what it looks like in succession as we sand. To this point, we have done our best to get rid of most of the damage to the light. What you want is a sort of uniform scratch pattern on the lens of the light. You want to make sure you get rid of any imperfections. So blow it off, make sure that you can look at the actual lens without the dust covering it, and then you'll see stuff like this. Make sure you go over it, get it to a nice finish like this, and then you can graduate to the next paper. Ideally, depending on how much time you have to spare, you can graduate between 300 and 400 grit at a time, ending up, like I say, at 2000 to 3000 grit. Anywhere in between there should be enough for it to be polished and looking nicely. What I did use to get rid of most of the scratching was this. This sander makes my life so much easier. Most of you won't have a sander like that at home. All you need is a piece of sandpaper. It's just going to take you forever. You want to sand as smoothly as possible by sanding it with a flat as possible hand or by using a block. Make sure you mask off the area that you're going to be sanding because you don't want to scratch your paint with this. That's going to be a real pain in the ass. So go ahead, make sure you sand it flat. Once you get all the imperfections off that you can see, graduate to the next paper. We're starting at 180 grit. We're going to probably end up at either 400 or 500 next. So this is the lens after we have hit it with 400 paper. Essentially, there is still quite a bit of pinning and damage, so we're going to try our best to make it look as good as possible. But generally, when you have soaked your headlights, your plastic headlights in thinner, it usually means lights out for those headlights and replacement time. But let's see what we can do. If you haven't soaked your headlights in thinner, then you can usually start with a 1500 grit and work your way up, and that should usually take off the yellow haze that is commonly on most plastic headlights. Yeah, let's hope for the best. Okay, so to this point we have finished the lens again over with the 400 paper, and we are done with the dry sanding to get rid of the bulk of the mess. What we're going to do now is we're going to get our favorite spray bottle. We're going to fill it with soap and water, and we're going to wash the headlight off and then proceed to the next paper. I am in a crunch for time, so I'm probably going to go for 1000 grit, but it is best to go up in increments of 200 to 300. So if you're doing this at home and you got all kinds of time, I would suggest going to 600 or 800, 750, whatever is out there available to you in your local market. What you want to do is make sure you get wet paper. You don't want to get dry sanding paper and try to sand it. It ain't going to be very good for you. Get the appropriate wet sanding paper and get sanding. We have sanded it with 1000 grit, and if you look closely, you can still see some of the pinning and damage. Now, some of this is from the stone, but a lot of it is from the thinner. So this sort of stuff here is from the thinner actually burning through the plastic and decaying it from the inside. So no matter how much we actually sand, we're not going to get all of it. But we've got no choice but to be happy with this because the customer ain't got no money. So we're going to now step it up to 1500 sandpaper and continue water sanding. Make sure you have a paper that is waterproof and appropriate for water sanding, and be sure to soak it for a bit of time before you start using the paper. So we have gone ahead and sanded it with 1500 grit. All we have to do now is sand it with 2000. I am going to opt out of that step because I am tired and lazy, and I'm going to employ the use of some fast cutting paste. The fast cutting paste is essentially like sandpaper just in paste form with the equivalent of a 15 to 2000 grit. Basically polish it as much as we can with that fast cut, and then we'll hit it with some polish after cleaning it up. We're going to be using a rotor machine like this. It's not an oscillating machine, it is straight rotating, so when you actually hit it, there is no oscillation. If you're going to be using something like this at home, be very careful because it will burn through your headlight quite quickly and damage the plastic permanently, much the same way and fashion that the thinner did. So yeah, good luck. Don't do anything crazy. So this is what your light should look like after you have used the fast cut or any sort of polish. You can use stuff that is at your local parts store, not necessarily an issue. The stuff that I am using is professional grade stuff. It is this stuff here, Furicula, which is going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it works really, really well. That is the polish that we're going to apply next. You should have a consistency like this. Unfortunately, there still is some damage from the thinner that was left to bake into the light overnight. You can see here that there is still some pitting. Some of it is from the stone chipping, but if you look carefully enough, you will see that the lens itself has been permeated by the thinner. So there really is no solution for repairing that sort of stuff that has permeated the lens. Unfortunately, you would have to replace it. Fortunately, this one here is in fairly decent condition still and won't have to be replaced. So hopefully yours looks like this. Unfortunately, we have run out of daylight, so it's kind of hard to show you what the finished result looks like, but you can take my word for it, it is 100% better than what it came in looking like. So that is, in short, how you do headlight restoration the professional way. It is a tedious process and can be quite long. The kits that are on the shelf at your local parts store are fairly good for lights that are just hazed. Not a bad idea, not something that's too hard, and definitely something you can do in the driveway on a Saturday or Sunday. Just make sure you wear the proper protective equipment and be sure to take your time with the job so that you don't screw anything up. In case you're wondering, the product that we use here in the shop is Furicula. I'm hopeful that I've pronounced it properly. In case, there's the spelling right there. That's that for this video. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. You want to make sure you get rid of everything. Blow it off and get... So we're gonna go ahead now, make sure we featherize the, what the fuck was I saying? Oh, I wanted to. So this is the lens after we have hit it with 400 grit. There is quite a bit of lamage. Wow. Because it's COVID time shit. And continue water sandering. So we have fucking fat motherfucker. We're gonna be using a rotary. Oh my god. In case you're wondering, the fucking cocksuckers. Unfortunately, there is still some damaging here. Damaging? You can use stuff that's over the counter. It's not a fucking drugstore. What the fuck? You can use stuff that is at your local Canadian Tire or whatever sort of. What the fuck kind of stores do they call those? Parts store? Yeah. God, retarded people everywhere. That's why I keep the fucking door closed. Just be sure to wear the proper protective equipment like gloves, a mask, and don't get the product in your eyes. That stuff is not good. Or in your nose holes, because cancer sucks balls, bro. And I don't know why I'm telling you this because it's not really important. Okay.